Monday morning, 9:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome. I honor you for listening live or listening to the playback. It's Monday. The first thing is, did you move today? That's number one. A lot of times we rip right into the day, we rip right in, and we just start getting into our groove. But did we move and did we breathe? And so my words can maybe impact you, but if you begin to move, whatever movement feels good for you, whatever is appropriate, if you might be on the job. If you're on the job, grab a moment of deep breath, because a lot of times we can slip into an anxious state, especially when we're in our job and we know we have a stacked to-do list, especially after coming back from COVID-19. We know we have this so much to do. There's so much to do. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. I got to get all these things done. And listen, they're going to continue to pile up, but you can pause. We want to get the best out of you today. How do you get the best out of you today? Well, here's how you cannot get the best out of you today. You don't get the best out of yourself by sitting slunched over and plugging on a computer all day. We must invite ourselves to move, to open up. Even the simplest movements, along with some deep breathing, can alter our biochemistry and change our day. And I want you to grab those micro things because they're so important. Some of you are going to look at it and be like, that's no big deal. But other of you that continue to infuse these habits, you're going to realize over time that these are going to make a big difference in your life. You're not always going to feel great, but when you can begin to breathe and move and open up during the down moments, it can change everything. So that's the first thing for your habits. But what is it that you need to avoid? What's the major mistake to avoid during these times? What is one major mistake to avoid during these times? And the second part of that title I put in, can you do what you love? Can you do what you love? Can you write the blog? Can you do the video? Can you plan the trip? Can you start the business? Can you reinvent your life? Can you refresh on a Monday morning? Can you realize that if you're looking down a road of going back to a job or something that is not filling you up anymore, as a matter of fact, if you go in and you feel frustrated and drained and, oh my God, I don't want to go through this, maybe it's time to relook. Maybe it's time to look at what's going on. Maybe it's time to pay attention to how you feel, to make a necessary change. And here's the major mistake to avoid. I'm going to keep this short and sweet today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a backstory. Matter of fact, I'll start with the backstory. The backstory is I worked for 19 years in corporate America in sales and sales management. 19 years I spent there. I worked there. I liked working there. I had great experiences there. I learned there. I grew there. I pushed myself there. I was anxious there. I was stressed. All of it existed there. But the one thing that we always did, and I guarantee if you are listening to this video, you are in a job, and even if you're not in a job, if you're an entrepreneur, this will hold true. But let's go back to, if you're in a job, there's one thing that has to happen at least once a year. And that is, are you ready? It's an assessment. It's the annual assessment. Let's see how you're doing. How are you doing on the job? And the assessment is something that we do through our corporate or jobs, or even if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably doing this because you have to. You don't have to, but it's a necessary component of having a thriving business. If we take the time and we do these assessments for our job, and we prepare and we see how we're doing, were we a good girl or boy? Were we a bad girl or boy? Do we get a raise? Do we stay the same? Do we walk out of our assessment or our review complaining that we should have gotten this and we should have gotten that? All right, so I went through 19 years of those assessments many times. But here's the thing. How often do we go through a personal assessment of the things that matter most to you? How often do we give ourselves the time to do that? So the major mistake to avoid is to not go through a personal assessment of what's most important for you as you move forward. And that personal assessment could reveal you doing what you love. Stop the bullshit of like feeling like you got to do a certain thing for the rest of your life or you can't make the change. You know, that's BS. It's possible. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. But it's through a series of self-assessment. You know how many self-assessments or assessments that I've personally gone through? I've gone through so many of them, many formal ones, and then also ones that I do for myself. And I'm in a state of self-assessment because self-assessment leads to self-awareness. And when we're aware, then we can really understand what we need, what we want to create moving forward in our journeys. So the one mistake to avoid right now is to simply coast, to drift, because coasting leads to drifting. And when we drift, we may want to go in this direction, but then we drift, and then we're off track. And then if we're not consciously going through a intentional assessment, we can stay off path, or we can feel, and the feelings will tell you everything. Your EGS, you know what your EGS is? It's your emotional guidance system. Your emotional guidance system will tell you what direction, or it will tell you that something's not right. So what I want to invite you to do today is if you're like me and you've been through who knows how many assessments on how you're performing, when was the last time you did a personal assessment on what's most important? And what I want to invite you to do today is to do that. I'm going to share a link. One assessment that I have, that I've created that's been working really well for people is this one. It's 9 questions to identify and remove limiting beliefs. 9 questions to identify and remove limiting beliefs. And you can go through it. It's a PDF. Take the time to figure out, you know, what's stopping you from doing what you love, from doing what you want to do. What's preventing you? What's blocking you? Avoid the major mistake of just coasting and maybe getting some time. Go through a conscious assessment. Figure out what's most important. Figure out what might be blocking you. If I say you do what you love to do, and you're immediately like, well, I can't. That's pie in the sky. Well, it's pie in the sky because unless you try. I mean, it's pie in the sky unless you try, unless you lean into it. I can tell you, running an ultra marathon was pie in the sky. I would have never imagined that I would have run an ultra marathon ever. Never. I would have never 10 years ago. Never. But because of leaning in and trying and going through some assessment. And not so much in the running, but the running, you have a constant assessment because you're looking at your time, you know how often you're running, and so there is assessment there as well. But how often do we assess ourselves in our personal journey, and what's most important to us? How often do we assess our family? How's our family doing? How's our relationships doing? How's our financial situation? Are we assessing these things? Or do we just assess our job situation? Do we just because I can tell you, like I said, I mean, I've been through so many assessments on the job, and I spent there 19 years, lots of assessments. But then are we doing the assessments for what's most important to us? So avoid the major mistake of just coasting and just thinking it's business as usual, or I'm just going to scrap and do what I got to do. Take the time. Take the time. Get the question. This is a great place to start. Get the 9 questions. Identify and remove limiting beliefs. And it might just open up something else for you, because self-assessment leads to self-awareness. Self-awareness leads to change. And you might just wake up 5 years from now saying, I heard that, I did that video, or I grabbed those 9 questions, and because of that, I made some different decisions. Avoid the major mistake of just coasting and drifting and getting off track. Take this time to do a personal assessment with yourself and your family, and it might just make all the difference. So most of you are going to get this on the playback. You can click the 9 questions. Let me know if you got the 9 questions. Let me know how they worked for you. But it's important that we go through the self-assessment and that we set ourselves up to do what we love. So the answer to can you do what you love, my answer is a resounding yes. You can. There's always a way to do it if we're committed. And so I want you to engage with these 9 questions as a starting point, and let's begin the journey together. You've worked hard enough on your job. You've worked hard. You've been there for other people. You've done a lot of things. There's still time for you to do what you love and make an impact. Heart set, skill set, mindset. It's all possible. Have a great day. Have a great Monday. Let me know that you got this. Let me know how it goes for you. Have a great day, everyone.